What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Bulls Report. My name is Patrick Siepman. Wanted to hop up on here and talk about the latest report we just got about an hour ago, where DeMar DeRozan is actually flying to Sacramento and he is going to meet with the Sacramento Kings. And obviously, we know this was in the midst of all the sign and trade buzz that we have heard around DeRozan. So I do want to talk about a couple things on today's show. We also got a report from Michael Scotto that the Spurs could be a third team to help facilitate this sign and trade. And then also, what would a sign and trade look like for the Chicago Bulls? Could you swing a potential player like a Devin Carter? We'll talk about that. And then also, I do want to talk about just the King side of things on the second half of today's video, as I actually do think this would be a perfect fit for DeMar next to Sabonis, Fox, and Malik Monk. I think it would be a really fun lineup that Sacramento could roll out. And then also, I just want to toss the idea out there that maybe Nikola Vucevic could be involved in this deal. I'll give you guys my thoughts on that here in a second. But first off, make sure you guys are subscribed here to the channel. There is no better time, to be subscribed to the Bulls Report here on YouTube. Because if we get any more news around DeRozan, possibly heading, to Sacramento, and once we do get that, I'll have a video for you guys ASAP. So everything around the Chicago Bulls, and you guys want to stay up to date on it, make sure you guys do hit that subscribe button. Filming in an undisclosed location right now, out on the road right now, but still wanted to, take a couple minutes and get this video out for you guys. So the report we got, this is coming in from Chris Haynes. DeRozan and his team are going to fly to Sacramento this weekend and talk with the Kings about the possibility of him joining, that basketball team. And obviously a trade is going to look probably around the likes of Kevin Huerter and Harrison Barnes heading to the Bulls, as both those guys are set to make, like right now, Harrison Barnes set to make $18 million. Kevin Huerter still has 2 years left on a $16 million deal. So, those guys could, be involved to help, facilitate this trade along, as, it is so confusing with these aprons, with the tax, like how they can actually pull off this trade. But, keep this in mind with DeRozan. If it is a sign and trade, it has to be a 3-year deal. So my best guess that the contract DeRozan's going to sign here, I'm going to assume it's going to be around a 3-year, $80 million deal. Maybe the Kings can talk him down to like 3 for $70, but it was reported originally when DeRozan was actually in talks about heading to the Los Angeles Lakers that he wanted a 3 for $90, and obviously we got the report, it was right after the season ended, that the Bulls apparently offered him a 2 years, $80 million deal. So I kind of feel for DeMar as this, free agency period has gone on and went. It seems like his value on the open market has definitely, slimmed down a little bit. But I do want to make this point here. I think the Bulls have a lot more leverage than people can imagine in this situation, because the Kings just can't sign him. Like, it would have to be a sign and trade. So the Bulls could kind of play a game of cat and mouse here, where it's like, yeah, we want to help DeMar. We want to help facilitate a team where he can go compete, in the Western Conference playoffs. But the Bulls are going to have to agree to this. So I actually do think the Bulls have some leverage. And if we can actually compare it to how the Bulls originally got DeMar DeRozan, they had to give up their first-round pick in this upcoming draft to help facilitate a trade when DeMar was on the San Antonio Spurs. They had to give up a first-round pick to get him to Chicago. So very similar situations. I'm not sure if the Bulls could swing a first-round pick out of this, but one guy I do think could be involved in this trade was who the Kings took at 13 this past NBA draft. What if the Bulls just say, give us Devin Carter, Kevin Huerter, Harrison Barnes, and then DeRozan is yours? Because, do you really think Devin Carter is going to come in and, get big-time minutes with this Kings backcourt? Because if they would get DeRozan, I mean, they would have Fox, Monk, Kevin Huerter, Keegan Murray, Chris Duarte, even like a guy like Keon Ellis, who they like, and then also Kobe Jones, who they took in the second round of last year's draft. So I could see them using Devin Carter, as just trade bait. And I would actually like that move for the Bulls, even though we have, 5 guards already on the roster that I do like. But, an up-and-coming draft prospect plays really hard. I can maybe see them, landing Devin Carter in this deal. But I also do want to get back to this report that we got. This is coming about a week ago now. I think it was Casey Johnson who reported it, but he said the Bulls love Kevin Huerter. And I actually, agree with that if the Bulls do love Huerter, because I think the Bulls just need for a pure shooter on this roster. And that's what Kevin Huerter is. I mean, he can light it up from downtown, has always been a damn near 40% three-point shooter throughout his career. So I think Kevin Huerter also having a floor spacer on the roster could really help the development of a guy like Ayo, of Kobe White, just them taking that next step. So when you have those driving lanes, they obviously just open up a whole lot more when you have that sniper on the outside. And, Kevin Huerter, let me look this up real quick. I'm pretty sure he's still probably around 26, 27 years old, 25 years old, actually. So that would just be another player under the age of 26 that the Bulls could bring in. And then also, if they had to swing Harrison Barnes in this deal, I was thinking about Patrick Williams. Like, what a better player to have mentor you, who has been an NBA champion, been one of the better role players on a championship team, elite corner three-point shooter throughout his career. And I could see the Bulls almost being like, hey, Patrick Williams, you're going to follow in the steps of Harrison Barnes. Obviously, he's a way better athlete. I think he's got more potential than Barnes, but just to him help reach that floor of just being a solid role player in the NBA, Harrison Barnes is not a bad choice. So listen, ideally, if this could go down, I would love the Bulls to somehow swing Huerter, Barnes, either Devin Carter or a future, protected first-round pick. I think that would be, be great for Chicago. But let's wrap up today's show talking about two things here. Could the Bulls possibly attach Nikola Vucevic in this trade? We heard reports that if the Bulls do lose DeMar DeRozan, they also want to ship out Vooch. I could see the Kings wanting their death lineup and their best five to be the likes of Fox, Monk, DeRozan, Sabonis, and Vooch. All five of those players can beat dudes off the dribble. All five of them can, I know we give, Vooch a hard time here, but he can create a shot for a big man, at that five spot. And then you just have Sabonis being that offensive engine, just generating looks for a bunch of open, for his teammates. Like, I actually don't hate that for the Kings. I don't remember when we got that, but I do remember the Kings being interested in Vooch at a point, and then obviously KC came out and said that, hey, if the Bulls move off DeRozan, they're going to want to move off Nikola Vucevic as well. So I actually do think the Kings, this would be a perfect landing spot for DeMar. I mean, you would have Sabonis, DeRozan, Fox, and Monk. I mean, that would be one of the best closing lineups in the NBA. I mean, Monk and Fox, I'm sure if you are a Kings fan watching this video, you know how clutch those guys have been. And then obviously Bulls fans, we know how clutch DeMar DeRozan has been over the past two seasons. So I think this makes a whole lot of sense for the Kings. And, if we're talking about, the Bulls long term here, or at least let's just take this 5-year window. If that's the deal you're able to get, and I know it stinks because we should have moved off all these guys last trade deadline. That's when the Bulls should have pulled the plug on this kind of run they were going on with this big three of Vooch, LaVine, and DeRozan. But if you're still able to get a Kevin Huerter, get a Harrison Barnes, maybe you swing a first-round pick or possibly Devin Carter, I think it would be great just to help this rebuild yet again, in Chicago. And if you could ever throw in Nikola Vucevic in this trade, you can move in Jalen Smith to that starting five spot, run Patrick Williams at the 4. And I actually wouldn't hate the idea of the Bulls starting 5 heading in the next season of being Josh Giddey, Kobe White, Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, and Jalen Smith. Yes, you're not winning a lot of games, but you could up LaVine's trade value, ship him at the deadline, and then you allow Buzelis to, continuously develop, work on his game. He gets inserted into that starting lineup at that 3 spot, and then you've got a solid 6-man rotation of all guys. And plus, if you're able to land Kevin Huerter in this deal, you actually got 7-8 guys all under the age of 26 years old, if you include Lonzo Ball in that. So, I think the Bulls are looking at this and saying, we got a chance to have, Josh Giddey, 21. Kobe and Ayo, 24 years old. Patrick Williams, 22. Get Kevin Huerter, he's 25. And then if you're also able to, obviously you got Modest and 19 years old, you actually have a solid young core for this team to build around. So that's the latest news of today. DeMar DeRozan is flying right now to meet with the Sacramento Kings. Again, if this trade gets finalized, we'll have another video up on the channel for you. But, exciting times to be a Bulls fan, as, I think it's more likely than not that this gets done this weekend. So again, turn on those notifications and make sure you don't miss a thing. And, after all the kind of rumors and drama we've heard around LaVine, I think it's also more likely than not that he is probably going to be on this roster day one opening night. So, obviously it would have been more ideal for him to get dealt, but maybe the Bulls almost give him a month window where it says, hey, obviously we're not trying to compete for a championship this season or even compete for the playoffs. You go up your trade value. Once that happens, we can ship you off somewhere else and hopefully just try to salvage a pretty broken relationship this at this point. But guys, thank you guys so much for watching today's show. If anything else happens around your Chicago Bulls, I'll have a video for you guys ASAP. But see you guys next time. As always, go Bulls.